Now we are going to go to this translation of the Quran and read those first 6 verses, which I meant to do last time. You'll notice how different they are than those that I read before. This is on the first 6 verses of Surah number 28. These are the verses of the clear book. We narrate to you, O Prophet, part of the story of Moses and of Pharaoh, in truth, for people we believe. Indeed, Pharaoh arrogantly elevated himself in the land and divided its people into subservient groups, one of which we persecuted, slaughtering their sons and keeping their women. He was truly one of the corruption. But it was our will to favor those who were oppressed in the land, making them models of faith as well as successors, and to establish them in the land, and through them show Pharaoh, Haman, and their soldiers the fulfillment of what they had feared. Notice how that translation is somewhat different as well. Now, below are 2 interesting notes. The first one says, it is commonly believed that Haman was in charge of architecture during the reign of the Pharaoh at the time of Moses. Then the other one below about the idea of what they feared, that is what the Pharaoh feared, it says, the fulfillment of the Pharaoh's old dream that his reign would come to an end at the hands of the boy of the children of Israel. In other words, that fulfilled his fear. Now, what this chapter, of course, is about Moses. Now, it's a long chapter about Moses and Moses' mother and so forth, and it goes all through these stories about Moses, which, of course, you will also find some of in the Bible. On this top section here also talks about some of that section of Moses, and it says here that part of this deals with Moses' life in Egypt, and part of it affirms God's power and authority in the Quran, because it shows how God can use the prophets and others to do what God wills and not what anyone else wills. So those are some of the ideas in this particular one that you will find here that are very interesting. Now, this in particular also has these sections where it shows you how these things were revealed to Muhammad and when. And what's interesting about this book, you'll find that the very first things that were revealed to Muhammad were the last things in this book. That's very interesting. And some of the things that were revealed to Muhammad were also later were in the first parts of this book. So that's very interesting. So what I did was to mark all of these that way so you could see which were the earliest ones of all and which were the latest ones of all. And that is quite interesting because some of the earliest ones were at the end of the book, as I said, and some of the longer ones, which are much later, are at the beginning of the book. So you'll see some of these are very small texts. They have very little to say. They're very small and have little to say. For example, this one here is number 6, and it says, may the hands of Abu Labad perish, and he himself perish. Neither his wealth nor his worldly gain shall benefit him. He will burn in the flaming fire, and so will his wife, and carry the thorny kindling. Around her neck will be a rope of palm fiber. Now, you'll notice there are also notes underneath that as well. And also it tells what that means, like the other ones do. This gives you a good idea of what this clear Quran is like.